That's him spray painting the side of a mosque.
Row of Life, Tuesday 9:30.
Accuser of their father, the devil.
I'm whiter than Hitler. But basically one night I masturbated in your bed.
The series that will send you to hell on a double DVD collector's edition. Over an hour and a half of bonus footage, the uncensored Rove Fatwa story, and a Bible full of bonus exorcism scenes. John Safran versus God. The double DVD, out now.
You're walking flypaper for demons.
Bob, why do you have a disabled parking sticker on your car?
Because that's the woman said to me before. She said, "Excuse me, you've parked in disabled."
Do you have something like a glass eye or something I don't know about?
I didn't say that. The woman said, "Why are you there? You walked straight out of that car, sir."
Do you think it undermines your authority?
No, it doesn't.
The fact that you get up there in church each week trying to,
say the right thing and all this.
And then sort of like when you're out of church, you're trying to scam the system.
Corrupt
and
and all of that.
How did you get in the first place?
Because we carry persons who are disabled. Didn't you know I do something else apart from bloody television? I help the poor. So you drive them places, you drive people everywhere. Sometimes the damn thing, I leave it there because I can't be bothered. It falls off, see? So I leave it in the car and occasionally I sin.
But what's the rule? Surely you shouldn't
I don't know what the rule.
Surely you shouldn't be using it. You should be using it if you've got someone like with calipers in your car or with MS or even a hearing aid. But if they're not there, you shouldn't be taking advantage of it.
I've read the small print and I can't work out whether, in fact, you've got to have a disabled person actually either driving the car or in the thing with you. Occasionally I sin because I take the damn car out with the sticker in it and I notice when I go to the supermarket. Now, you've just blown the whole scene because now every damn parking officer in the city of Port Phillip and Melbourne is going to be on the lookout for the old fraud who steps out of the car sprightly. Thanks, John.
Father Bob Maguire, for this next segment, viewers are going to need a pen and paper.
But first of all, introduce Solrita Antaria, because she's a member of a new generation that was born post-1980 and they're more psychically developed than the rest of us. She discovered by accident that she speaks a new language, not a new language, an old language called star language, that other psychically evolved people can instinctively understand. Solrita Antaria.
Thank you very much for joining us. Now, I want to get this straight. You're saying that there's been evolution for millions of years and, we were fish and then we kind of grew feet. And then around 1980, there was this new step in evolution where a whole whack of people were born where they're more psychically involved.
Yeah, that's true. There's times throughout history where there's different things happening, like you said about the fish, evolving into land creatures. So it has happened before. There has been more psychically evolved people before, sort of around Atlantean times.
But this theory around the 1980s, that's not like something you've made up. It's like other people believe it too.
No, there was a man back in the early 1900s who predicted that there would be children called the Indigo Children. His name's Edgar Cayce, and he was also known as the Sleeping Prophet.
And what does it mean to be have these psychically involved? Does that mean you know what Bob's thinking at the moment, or you know what I'm going to do later in the day?
I guess it means that we have more of an emotional intelligence, as though we can pick up on certain emotions or certain feelings. A lot of us also see auras, so seeing colours and different things. So growing up, it was very different for me. It was like I was experiencing a whole other stream of communication, as well as the communication that we were talking about.
What did that mean, in a practical sense? That meant you're like in the classroom, you knew what the teacher was going to say next?
Yeah, kind of. It was sort of like, because when we learned, we had whiteboards, we didn't have the blackboards. So the teacher would be standing in front of the whiteboard and I would see all different colours around her and different energy fields. So I'd be able to sort of predict what mood she might be in that day or maybe what was going on for her.
Can you tell us about this star language that you've learnt, you've instinctively spoken?
It's something that I always felt growing up. Probably around the age of 4, I sort of realised that I was different, going to kinder and, watching the way other kids communicated, having sort of like an internal language going on that I knew I could speak, but I knew that it wasn't right to speak in front of others.
And then you discovered that other people who had also spoken. How did that happen?
That was when I was about 21, which is going back about 4 years ago. Yeah, there was a course that I helped develop for the Australian College of Energetic Medicine, and some of the students in the course were talking about star people and different things. And they said, oh, I've always had this language that I've felt, but I've never actually spoken it. And so we just said, hey, wait a minute, you know, I've sort of felt the same thing. And so we instinctively started to speak it. We could actually understand each other.
Wow, and it was like a totally new language.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I haven't heard anyone else speak it. But since then, I've gone on to find a lot of others that speak it, and there's varied dialects as well.
So it's like all over the world, there's people who've grown up in different conditions and they all can really just instinctively speak this universal language. As I said, I reckon there's going to be people watching who are going to be wondering, do I instinctively speak this language? So we're going to get you to talk to camera now. That's why you ask people to have a paper and pen ready.
Paper or pencil.
Because we're going to get them to email or post into us what they think you're saying if they can understand this star language.
Maybe you can understand the star language.
I reckon it's that camera there. It's got the red light on it.
Miala nana halo halna hala kayalana. Iala shamolona heala. Iala namolona hena hala koyala. Iala shamolona hena. Iala nahola. Thank you.
Oh, I understood. By the end of it, I was picking up on it. The last bit was thank you.
You're an indigo, mate. You're an indigo. Now, viewers.
Yes.
Now?
Yes.
Please send us your translations of Salrita's speech to mailbox@speakingintongues.com.au or PO Box 434, Prahran, Victoria 31181.
And we'll be following this up next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Bob, what happens when business intersects with religion? I want to know. And we have a guest.
And we've got a very appropriate guest, Stephen Mayne. He's the founder of independent online newsletter Crikey.com, and he used to be the advisor to Premier Jeff Kennett.
Now, Stephen Mayne, is it true what I've heard that if you have a business run by a religion, you don't have to pay any tax?
That's right, you don't pay any tax on your profits. So the best example is probably the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which turns over $330 million a year through the Sanitarium brand and pays absolutely no tax on any profits that they make. They can just plough them all back into the church.
And Bob?
I reckon they should plough it all back into the wider community.
Do you pay tax?
Churches? You're asking me, because not my business. We don't pay tax up the street, no, at my place.
Well, you don't pay tax at a range of levels, Bob. You don't pay tax on any profits. You wouldn't pay any rates. You wouldn't pay any rates on your...
No rates.
Church, you wouldn't pay any land tax.
No, I don't know if that's true, is it?
No, you usually get a land tax exemption, and if head office decided to sell off your very valuable piece of property there...
Which they can't, we're the only ones who can decide to sell it off.
But if you decide to sell it off, no capital gains tax, even if you sent the $2 or $3 million straight back to Rome.
I've got to pay somebody 10 years something or other that we didn't pay before. What's that called? Rates. We have to pay back rates.
You're looking at these big examples. What about, like the local opportunity shop run by a business? Isn't it good that they're not having to pay tax?
Oh, there's a great argument that that churches shouldn't pay tax, but most places around the world where they run business enterprises, they should pay taxes. So the Catholic Church owns a winery and a multi-storey car park, and I think there's an argument that they should pay tax on that. There's other groups that run carpet cleaning businesses. The Mormons are Australia's biggest corn growers, yet they don't pay any tax on their profits.
My point is that the money that we shouldn't be handicapped because we have good business instincts or enterprises, but the money should go to the wider community, not into the church.
But how do you prove that? Is there any vetting process? Do you have to show to the tax department?
I think the government, the statutory bodies ought to be able to scrutinise where the dough's going. I think so.
But no one has any idea. I mean, the Catholic Church has more than $100 billion of assets in Australia, and they are Australia's largest employer, 180,000 people employed, revenues each year of $15 billion, and there's no independent watchdog for any religious group or charity in Australia. The Kiwis, New Zealand, have just introduced a charities commission where you have to register, you have to provide annual returns. In Australia, many religions are absolutely impenetrable. You can't find out anything about their financial affairs.
And do you think when they introduce this tax-free status, they imagined that there were going to be things like sanitarium and things like, Hillsong Pentecostal, or were they just thinking it's going to be all, small little opportunity shops?
It goes back to the religions working in healthcare and education and all the basic things that the Catholic Church does. But then when you get extensions, I mean, there's a whole bunch of, particularly in the Pentecostals, which are getting into financial services at the moment, competing with the banks. Yet they don't have to get a licence from ASIC like everyone else does. They're not, don't have to abide by the Banking Act like all the big four banks do. So when they get into business and start competing, when it's not a level playing field, it's really, really unfair for business.
I agree with you that these faith community credit unions and banks ought to have to be transparent.
Yeah. But aren't people like the Salvation Army on the front line of, helping people out and picking up the slack when no one else wants to help the street kids?
Look,
and the poverty-stricken.
I love the Salvos as much as anyone does, but the fact is they also run Australia's biggest employment network agency. Employment Plus is competing with a whole group of private employment providers, and the private people have to pay tax, but the Salvos are tax exempt.
So does the law stipulate what you're meant to spend those profits on if you're a religious charity? What it's meant to, it has to go back into helping people? Or can you just spend it on anything?
No.
Well, nominally you have to spend it on your basic religious organisation, but the issue is with a group like Hillsong and the rise of the Pentecostals is that several of their pastors are now multi-millionaires. So they've been able to make profits, particularly from merchandise and selling a speaker circuit and selling off CDs and musics, and Hillsong even sell mobile phone ringtones. So that's where I think there's an issue, is where people can use the church.
Your eyes lit up then, didn't they?
Oh, imagine the money you could make.
Very nice. But see, this is being smart to do good things. But your point is this is being smart for personal gain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I
draw the line then, because I got nothing out of being doing good things. If I was getting personal gain, I'd expect you to hound me down.
But you mentioned your nice Ford last week with the subwoofers.
The Ford.
Now,
I don't know if I've got sub-bloody woofers. Well, I don't even know what subwoofers are.
You get a $15,000 fringe benefits tax exemption. Yeah, the Catholic Church does. So that's why you've all got
it's not a Catholic Church
cars.
Ford. It's an Open Family Australia Ford.
But it would still be in under the umbrella in which anyone
charitable.
Working for a religious organisation.
No, not a religious organisation. My organisation is a charitable organisation registered with the da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, and they are also entitled to this $15,000 FBT exemption. So you get nice,
I didn't buy the thing, though. I leased it. See what I mean?
Bob, I knew you were a fraud and a cheat and a liar.
A cheat and a liar.
I didn't know this much. Thank you, Stephen Main, for coming on in.
Thanks, John. It's a pleasure. Thanks, Bob.
Bob, he had you figured out perfectly.
That's what you think. Had the interview lasted longer, I had him in a corner by the throat.
Unfortunately, you had to cut off at that time where you looked like a
because he panicked.
Idiot.
You see, he went pale at the end, and you got sympathetic because you're in a conspiracy with him, and you noticed, and then you said it's all over.
I had no idea he was going to go you like that. Next news story, please, Father Bob Maguire.
Read in the Guardian paper, the reversal of a witch doctor's curse by Australian television presenter John Safran, that's you, has been credited with the Australian national football team's first qualification for the World Cup in 32 years. And I saw this on television, John.
Now back to the Socceroos showdown with Uruguay. As every fan in Australia knows, bad luck has always cursed our previous World Cup campaigns. Last year, though, spiritual expert John Safran decided to do something about it.
Now, have a look here, Bob. This is me in Mozambique. The chicken has been sacrificed, rubbing the blood on. Whenever I turn up anywhere these days, an animal gets sacrificed. I don't know what happens to that.
But that's the famous Johnny Warren.
Yes, God rest his soul. Look how I'm trying to stand like a bloke there.
The real crunch is when the World Cup's on, isn't it?
And do you reckon this curse breaking's going to work?
Yes, it will. Yeah, I believe in it.
Bob, you might not be into witch doctorism, but you're at odds with the Australian public. This poll was taken before the match.
Last night we asked, do you believe John Safran has successfully lifted the Mozambique witch doctor's curse on the Socceroos? We had a great response and it showed that you, the fans, are true believers, with 94% thinking the curse has been lifted. Well, let's sincerely hope so.
94%, that is officially mass psychosis.
It is.
Uruguay, big Catholic country, The whole of Latin America.
Once upon a
Uruguay,
time.
like all the other teams, before the match, they venerate Christ, they pray to Christ, they do the whole crossing thing. Basically, this Uruguay versus Australia was Catholicism versus witch doctorism, and it looked like witch doctorism won out.
I mean, once upon a time, they were devotional Spanish Catholics.
And what are they now?
They're now Pentecostal Protestants.
Oh, okay, so Uruguay
Yes.
lost because too much of the population went away from Catholicism and became Protestants.
That's a scoop, viewers. They lost the soccer because they left the Catholic Church and flung themselves into the arms of the Protestant Pentecostals.
How does prayer work? Can you pray for your team to win?
Yes, you can. Of course, everybody.
And does it work?
Yes, of course it works. If you
Well, why didn't it work for Uruguay?
because they didn't pray hard enough.
Thank you, Father Bob. You know my favourite right-wing Catholic magazine, First Things?
Oh yes, that's that American thing, for God's sake.
And I like to buy it every month.
Neocon.
I like to buy it every month because I can read stuff that I can then trip you up with later on. Anyway, I was in Borders this week and I bought it, and it's like $13 because it's like this air freight kind of copy. I can't possibly wait one more week. But I went to the counter and then the woman looks at the American price, which is $4.95, and she types that in instead of the Australian price
Yes,
of
and you
$13.95.
told her immediately, madam.
I didn't. I was like, but not really, because I was like too confused about what I should do. So basically, I've got away with this right-wing Catholic magazine, only paying $4.95 instead of like $13. What should I do? Should I go back and give the
Well,
difference?
first of all, you should give up this art that you have of kind of being a professional confused person. Because you love all that. You get confused. I'm so confused, I don't know what to do. Oh, God, what's right and wrong?
Yeah.
And off you go into the wings, but
Yeah.
you've always taken the damn thing with you. You know, you don't get confused, first leave thing, go out, reconsider, come back.
So you're saying I should go back to Borders in South Yarra and pay the difference?
I think you're a confused predator. So you've taken that thing now and you're going to put me in the spot and say, should I keep it or not? See, Rabbi Maguire.
Well, what should I do? It's a simple question, Father Bob.
Pay the woman the money, because she probably had to pay it out of her money, and it was the money she was going to buy a whole truckload of sustagen for her husband, who's dying, for God's sake, at home with anemia, and you've just ripped her off for $14.
But then
you're going to be responsible not only for stealing the thing, my son, you're going to be responsible for murder.
But there's another confusing dimension to it, because it was Borders and it's like that big multinational thing. I was like
Therefore,
confused.
it's all the profit goes into the multinational.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I agree, because I've been brought up with bad morals, because I was brought up with all that kind of left-wing stuff at uni, like, Chomsky and Pilger, where they just blame all the multinationals.
Your father and mother brought you up well.
No, yeah, my parents did, but then in uni, I absorbed all this kind of left-wing stuff, which makes you not feel guilty about ripping off Borders like $10 for your right-wing Catholic magazine, when really maybe I should. Because if I was in some small independent bookstore, I would have just said, nah, here,
your generation's
got it wrong.
hopeless on this business about we're not guilty.
But that's what I really reckon is a danger of all this, this Chomsky Pilger stuff, because it makes out like you're not responsible for anything.
For your own actions.
And it's like, there's always other people out there. It's like, Borders is so big and evil and stuff like that. So the fact that you have ripped off whatever, $8 from them, it doesn't matter, when really maybe it does matter.
Well, this show is meant to be an antidote to that kind of moral amnesia. So thank you for introducing this.
I'm going back into Borders.
You're trying to tighten up the morals.
I'm going back into Borders this week.
Yeah.
Pay the extra $8.
Yes. You'll probably be arrested and you'll be in prison. There'll be no episode 4.
Bob, we help people from in religious denominations find other people within that denomination. Who do we have this week?
We're very helpful, very helpful. This week we're lucky to have Kate Daniels, and she's a lieutenant of the Salvation Army.
Thank you for joining us.
No
now,
worries.
the first thing to clear up, I guess for a lot of people, they think the Salvation Army, it's like a charity or something like that, but you're also a distinct religious denomination, are you not?
Yes, we are. Yep, we're a part of the Evangelical Christian Church.
But different from other branches of the Evangelical
we're
Christian
our own
Church.
denomination.
So do officers within the Salvation Army, do they have to marry other officers?
Yes, they do.
Wow. But you're like a non-practicing, or what you've got to
I'm a non-ordained officer, so I don't have to marry an officer. However, non-ordained officers are kind of on the track towards becoming full ordained officers. So...
You're kind of on the lookout.
Yeah.
And when you become a full officer, you get to wear the hat and all that stuff like that?
Oh, we don't wear hats anymore.
You don't?
No, we got rid of them.
Oh, no. You see, I think that's a mistake. Bob, do you agree?
Yeah, well, I mean,
anything that gets rid of the bells and whistles isn't good, because that's kind of, that gives you your angle. The military look makes you look funky, whilst this new kind of, let's try to look cool, now you look like you work at Priceline or something.
I know.
But, no, it's still good. Now, we've looked at the 2001 census, and I've got good news and I've got bad news.
Okay,
the good news is there's 71,423 members of the Salvation Army in Australia. That's the good news. Here's the bad news, Kate. There's far less men than there are women.
Yes.
31,000 men, 39,000 women.
And most of the men would be married or just not my type.
Yeah. So we're going to help this lady.
So pitch yourself to the potential Salvation Army officers out there. Like, what are you into? What are your hobbies?
Well, I've just got my full motorbike licence, so I'm learning to ride a motorbike. I've done a bit of boxing.
Boxing.
I just like hanging out.
And what are you looking for in him? What features do they have to have?
What features? Well, just someone who's fun, interesting, bit quirky, bit adventurous.
And if he gets involved with you, is he like going to have to help out at soup kitchens once a week?
Not soup kitchens. I work with kids, teenagers.
And if you're out there, Mr. Salvationist, you've got to send your message to mailbox at speakingintongues.com.au or to PO Box 434 Prahran, Victoria 31881.
And in fact, if someone's a member of any faith and they want to meet someone else within that faith, please contact us too, because we'd love to have them on the show. Bob, we try to find a message to put up on your church billboard for the week.
What is it? What's this week's?
First one, via email, Peter Murphy. In case of fire and brimstone, Exodus is located at the rear.
Very practical, and we're covered for fire insurance.
You like that?
Yes.
Next one from Edward Raisin from Perth. Donate a church organ. We need your heart.
Yeah, that's nice, but it's a bit messy, you know what I mean?
I know, it doesn't quite scan. It almost makes sense. You've got like organ, heart. But
yes.
Luke Branderhorst via email. Praise, praise, yell, yell. If you don't come in, you'll go straight to hell.
Yeah, a bit grim. See, a bit fundamentalist.
From Darren Brew via email. Do we have to wait for Christmas for your presents?
Oh, I like
that. And it's the homophone or homonym.
Yeah, homonym, here.
We've got one more. Get some sunshine at the Soul-larium. That's by Hannah Jane.
That's very good. That's good for the 20-somethings. So that should go up this week.
Now, if viewers have a suggestion for Bob's billboard, where should they send them into?
The address is mailbox at speakingintongues.com.au or Post Office Box 434, Prahran, Victoria 3181.
Bob, I have to take advantage of the fact that we have a weekly television show to put out a community service announcement. There's a man going around my area, East St Kilda, claiming to be my brother, and he goes around into all the shops, tries to get stuff for free, claiming I'm going to come later and pay for it. But his surname actually is Safran, because I've met him once before. He's kind of got like this heavy metal look. I've actually got, he looks a bit like the lead singer of Burzum. So that's like, that's the picture of him,
there's
right?
dozens of these walking around.
But he doesn't have that kind of Spanish Inquisition club.
Yeah,
but he's got like, he wears like black clothes like with like pentagrams on them and stuff like that, right? But his face is a bit different. He's got like the same long hair, but his face is a bit more like this. So it's kind of like, it's like that head
there's no
on that body.
resemblance whatsoever. You could have this man shot.
And he's got his surname actually is Safran because apparently he's produced his license and it has got Safran at the end.
You sure he's not your brother?
I'm nearly sure he's not my brother.
How do you know? There might be a hidden story here, ladies and gentlemen.
There's kind of like another
Safran clan.
There's another aspect to him that like would help you spot who he is, but I think it's a bit rude to bring it up.
Oh, don't bring it up, for God's sake, if it's rude. Far be it from us to bring anything up that's rude. We've managed so far to episode 3 to have nothing rude. Do you want to put something rude in now?
Well, I think it's slightly, when you first meet him, it's slightly confusing whether he's a man or a woman.
That's rude.
Well, there you go.
Anyway, it got in.
Thank you, Father Bob.
Thank you, John. It's been a pleasure as usual to do business with you.